Do you believe that the last cheap meal in America might disappear next month? That $5 combo you used to grab after a long working day is quietly becoming a $12 luxury? Everything is getting more and more expensive. Since 2022, restaurant prices have surged by over 22%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Technomic now warns that at least 15 of the biggest names in American dining, such as McDonald's, Subway, Burger King, are preparing to raise prices again by the next 30 days. Some are doubling them, but let's be clear. This isn't just about inflation. It's the end of the last affordable meal for millions of middle-class Americans through generations. When even fast food becomes a luxury, then what happens to the people who depended on it to survive? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today, we reveal the 15 big chains preparing to push loyal customers out of reach. Wait until you see the number 3, because this one will shock you. Number 1. McDonald's. Remember the good old days when a Big Mac combo cost less than $5 this summer? In some states, that same meal could cost you $13. And no one's coming to warn you before it happens. In 1995, a full McDonald's combo, burger, fries, and drink was a simple pleasure for under $4. You didn't need a coupon, a mobile app, or a second job to enjoy it. But today, according to Forbes, that same combo ranges from $10.89 to $13.59 depending on location. Between 2019 and 2024, prices at McDonald's rose by nearly 40%. And with new state mandates like California's $20/hour minimum wage for fast food workers beginning taking effect, analysts now expect another 10 to 15% hike across the country by the end of summer. Behind these increases are deeper issues no one likes to talk about: soaring beef costs, fuel and transportation expenses, quiet breakdowns in the national food supply chain, and a workforce stretched thin, tired, and demanding better wages, as they should. But while the system adjusts upward, those living paycheck to paycheck are being left behind. McDonald's used to be the fallback and maybe the only one thing that didn't change when everything else did. But now, for a family of 4, a quick meal can cost nearly $50. That's no longer comfort food. People just sigh and whisper that now it's a luxury. Seniors who once stopped by for a $1 coffee and conversation now linger outside, calculating the life expense. Parents who promised their kids happy meals are now forced to break those promises in silence. And for many, that quiet shift feels like something deeper than inflation. They might think about the quietly erased. A retired man in Illinois once said he didn't love McDonald's for the burgers. He loved that it still made him feel like he's a part of the community. And God knows how much it matters for a man in his old age. This is only the first name on our list. And if McDonald's, the symbol of American affordability, has already priced out the people who built it, imagine what's happening at Subway, where prices are hitting even harder for anyone seeking a cheap and healthy option. Number 2. Subway. What happens when all you ever ask for is just a simple, healthy sandwich? But now it also becomes a luxury you can no longer afford. You might remember the days when Subway's $5 footlong was more than a slogan, but a trustworthy promise, a promise that lunch could still be cheap, fresh, and doesn't harm your health. You walked in, chose your bread, loaded it with greens, and felt like you were still in control of life. For many working Americans, it used to mean so much, but even that simple convenience is being priced out. According to Business Insider, Subway sandwiches now cost anywhere from $9.95 to $13.25 depending on the region. Since its change in ownership in 2023, the company has shifted toward regional pricing, citing higher import costs for fresh vegetables, energy-heavy refrigeration, and investments in better bread and digital ordering systems in the next 6 months. Another 10-12% hike is expected. The impact ripples far beyond the counter. Subway once sat at the sweet spot between greasy fast food and overpriced health food, especially for older adults, students, and office workers. It was where retirees could grab a soft tuna sub after picking up medication, where students could refuel between classes without breaking their budget, where delivery drivers could pause, pick their toppings, and feel like they still have the right to choose. But now, that pause is ending. Quietly. People are skipping visits, packing leftovers, watching the new prices scroll across touchscreen kiosks, then walking away. A trucker in Iowa used to live on footlongs during long hauls. Today, he stares at the $13 price, unwraps a sandwich from home, and drives on without saying a word. No words can describe his disappointment in a system that left normal people behind. Subway's sleek renovations and app-based deals now cater to a different crowd. Those with rewards accounts, credit cards, and time to scroll through digital menus. But what about the rest? What about the people who only wanted something green, warm, and directly when even a sandwich is no longer for everyone? The message about the nation's future is loud enough. And if that message is creeping into lunch, how long before it reaches dinner? Because the next brand didn't just feed families, it also filled entire childhoods. We are talking about KFC, and this one might hurt your memories. Number 3, KFC. What if what used to be the cheapest meal to warm your stomach now costs so much that millions simply walk away? Empty-handed and unheard. Back in 2005, you could bring home 8 pieces of KFC chicken for around $10. That red and white bucket was more than just food. In the shining memories of millions of customers, it was an event, a reward for surviving another week. But today, that same bucket costs up to $26.90, according to CNN Business. KFC prices have soared more than 65% since 2015, and by the end of Q3 2025, analysts expect another 8 to 10% price increase across most U.S. markets. The reasons are many. Frying oil and industrial chicken prices have surged. Real estate and labor insurance costs keep climbing. And while corporate strategy shifts toward higher yield markets, it's the everyday folks who are priced out. What used to be a once-a-month indulgence for low-income seniors or working-class parents is now a math problem. One combo for 2 people is over $30 in some states. That's not a treat anymore. It's a trade-off. A choice between one warm dinner or 3 days' worth of pantry groceries. Between sharing a bucket or filling a gas tank in small towns. Families now stood outside KFC. They used to come here after long days. Every week. One bucket. A whole family with laughter. Comfort. But now, those families check the prices and turn away. And across America, that silence is growing. Stores feel emptier. Shifts are shorter. Workers, often part-timers with kids, students, or retirees, are losing hours. Customers, many elderly or on fixed incomes, skip meals they once looked forward to, not because they've changed, but because the brand changed direction. This isn't about extravagance, but about that one familiar taste that made a hard month feel worth it. That moment when fried chicken meant more than hunger, because it brought togetherness. But if KFC fades away, what fills its place? Microwave meals alone. Instant noodles in silence, or a generation that never learns what it meant to sit around a table and share something warm, simple, and joyful. And if that's what we're losing, then prepare yourself. Because the next brand was built entirely on the idea of giving people a seat at the table, but now it quietly tells more of us to stay outside. Number 4. Burger King. What if the one place you used to turn to when McDonald's felt too expensive now feels just as out of reach for decades? Burger King was the fallback, the quiet, familiar choice when you needed dinner but couldn't stretch the budget. 2 Whoppers for $5 was a promise. It meant you could feed 2 people for the price of one lunch elsewhere. It meant you didn't have to say no to your kid when they asked for a toy with their meal. It meant fast food still belonged to everyone. Now, that promise is gone. A Whopper combo in 2025 costs between $11, $75 and $13.89 depending on your state. Technomic reports that another 8 to 11% price hike is coming this year as Burger King pushes to offset rising ingredient costs, wage pressures, and a nationwide store redesign initiative. But for customers, those changes haven't made the experience feel better, only more expensive. What once felt like a backup plan has started to feel like a dead end. For working class families, Burger King used to be a sigh of relief. Today, it's a source of hesitation. When the Whopper costs the same as a Big Mac, what are you really choosing? Not value, not convenient, just survival. More and more Americans are walking away because they have to. A single mother in Texas recently shared how her son had just earned a good grade and asked for a Whopper meal with a toy. She looked at the screen, nearly $14. No discount. We've got something even better at home. Her voice cracked and her son knew. That's the real cost. Not just money, but the loss of small joys. The casual yes, the memory of reward, and the growing sense that every place once meant for regular people now belongs to someone else. Because if even Burger King stops being an option, what's left? Who fast food is really for now? Wait until you see what's happening at Applebees. Number 5. Applebees. What happens when the last affordable dinner out, the one that made you feel like you still belonged at the table, becomes too expensive to even consider? There was a time when going to Applebee's felt like a treat, not extravagant, but real. A booth, a server, 2 warm entrees and an appetizer, all for $20. The famous 2 for $20 deal gave working couples something to look forward to, offered tired parents a low-cost date night, and gave middle-aged folks a break from the microwave without breaking the bank. It wasn't just a meal, it was a feeling that, for once, you didn't have to settle. But today, that same combo hovers between $28 and $32 depending on the location. Add tax, tip, and maybe a single drink, and you're easily approaching $50. According to NBC News, Applebee's has already told shareholders to expect another 6-9% menu price hike in the second half of 2025. The reason: rising costs of imported meat and fresh ingredients, high staffing expenses, and investments in modern casual dining, new decor, new POS tech, and new expectations. But what's lost in the upgrade is the very audience Applebee's once served best. The retired couple in Indiana who used to share a 2 for $20 every Friday night. Now they sit in the car outside, watching the glowing sign from a distance, quietly eating soup they warmed up at home. Not because they lost the appetite, but because they can't afford the experience anymore. Applebee's used to be just fancy enough for the working class. It was the place you could take your kids to teach them how to act in a restaurant, or celebrate a small win after a hard week. But now, the booths feel colder, the menus glossier, the servers fewer, and the customers, they're slipping away. It's not just about price. It's about erasing the only remaining space where ordinary people could feel like going out didn't mean going broke. The food hasn't changed, but the message has, and for millions. That message is clear: you're no longer the customer this place is built for. And if Applebee's, of all places, no longer welcomes the working class, just imagine what happens when Starbucks, a name once associated with small joys and quiet comfort, becomes a daily reminder that even coffee isn't safe anymore. Number 6. Starbucks. What if the one place that made you feel calm, familiar, and seen now quietly prices you out with every passing season? There was comfort in the routine, a morning walk, a warm chair, a $3 latte, and the soft hum of a cafe that didn't rush you out the door. For many older Americans, Starbucks wasn't about the drink, it was about the rhythm, the quiet joy of being somewhere that felt safe, where someone might remember your name. Now that comfort is slipping away. A grande latte in cities like New York or Los Angeles now costs $6.75 to $7.95. Signature drinks, often above $8.50. According to Business Insider, another 8-12% increase is planned for Q3 2025. The reasons include rising Arabica prices from climate disruptions, eco-packaging costs, and higher wages after labor union campaigns. But the consequences stretch far beyond cost. For retirees on fixed incomes, Starbucks was their third place, a space between home and nowhere. A table, a name called out, a brief chat with a familiar barista. That's vanishing. A simple stop for 2 coffees and a pastry now approaches $20. And for many, that's the breaking point. One man in his late 60s in New Jersey used to come in every Sunday for his paper, his latte, and a quiet chat. Now he walks past. The chair is still there, but the moment is gone. And as Starbucks remodels for sleek tech, mobile orders, and younger, wealthier customers, something else has quietly lost the sense that this space still belongs to all of us. Because if even a cup of coffee becomes too expensive to feel welcome, what kind of world are we waking up to? Number 7. Taco Bell. What happens when the last cheap meal of the night quietly crosses the $10 line and no one's left to notice? There was a time when Taco Bell was more than just fast food. It was a survival strategy. For night shift workers, college students, delivery drivers, it was the only place open, cheap, and filling. With a $1 menu and combos under $4, it offered something rare: comfort without calculation. But that's gone now, today. Common combo meals cost $9.89 to $12.50. CNBC reports that Taco Bell plans to raise prices another 10-12% by late summer 2025. Behind the hike, rising costs of beef, cheese, imported produce, and expanding AI-run kitchen tech. For those who live by the hour, this shift stings. Taco Bell used to mean grabbing 2 hot items for $3 after a long shift. Now, it's a pause in front of the glowing menu, followed by turning away. The meal isn't skipped for health or taste, it's skipped for survival. No headlines, no outcry, just fewer customers, fewer lit drive-thrus, and a creeping loss of nighttime routines for millions. That second dinner was never indulgence, it was the only meal left standing. And if even Taco Bell feels out of reach, where do the invisible people go next? Number 8. Wendys. What happens when lunch for $4 becomes a memory? And even eating alone starts to feel like a luxury Wendys once meant value. The 4 for $4 deal was iconic burger, nuggets, fries, and a drink for the price of a coffee. For students, office workers, and retirees, it was the perfect midday answer: fast, filling, affordable. But that offer is gone in many states. Now, basic combos cost $9.50 to $12.75. Yahoo Finance reports Wendys plans another 12-15% price increase in 2025, citing beef and bread inflation, menu improvements, and ghost kitchen investments. That shift hurts. Not just wallets, but identities. The people who once felt seen by Wendys' ordinary folks now feel priced out. A solo lunch now takes mental math. Can I afford this in gas? Can I eat and still pay for meds? Wendys hasn't just raised prices, it's raised its platform, leaving millions behind. And when eating alone in silence costs as much as a week's groceries, it's no longer about hunger, it's about not belonging anymore. Number 9. Dominos Pizza. What if pizza night, the one simple thing that brought the whole family together, now costs more than your weekly groceries? Domino's used to be the fallback. A warm box of cheesy comfort after a hard week. Medium pizzas for $5.99 carry-out deals at $6.99 or 2 for $12 offers made it easy to feed the whole family without a second thought. But now, those prices are gone. A medium pizza ranges from $12.99 to $17.49, and delivery fees add another $4.99 to $6.99. Technomic forecasts another 7-10% hike by fall 2025 due to rising cheese and flour costs, driver shortages, and investments in tracking and mobile tech. For families on tight budgets, that Friday tradition is fading. A pizza night that once cost $12 now nears $25. Suddenly, it's not just dinner, it's a financial decision. Parents boil pasta instead. Kids stop asking. The box never arrives. And something small but meaningful disappears with it. Domino's was never just food. It was togetherness on demand. But when even that becomes too expensive to share, you start to realize it's not just pizza we're losing. It's the last few moments of casual joy we thought we could always count on. Number 10, ChickfilA. What if even the one place you trusted for a clean, friendly, no-hassle lunch now quietly pushes you out with every price hike? ChickfilA was never just about the chicken sandwich. It was about calm, comfort, a clean space, warm service, and quality food at under $7. For retirees, drivers, young families, it was the rare spot that felt safe, warm, and familiar. But now, the same combo costs $11.75 to $13.50. CNBC reports another 10% increase is coming in Q3 2025, with rising chicken and frying oil prices, higher rent in suburban locations, and a shift toward digital kitchens. Costs are passed straight to the customer. For those living on fixed incomes, that's a deal breaker. The sandwich didn't change, but the feeling did. Now it feels like walking into a place that used to wave you in, but doesn't anymore. It hits young families too. What used to be a quick stop after church now costs over $40 for 3 meals. The numbers on the menu are higher, but the warmth is harder to feel. And when even ChickfilA starts to drift beyond reach, we lose more than a meal, we lose a place where we used to feel human. Number 11. Olive Garden. What happens when even the simple joy of sharing a bowl of pasta turns into a financial burden for decades? Olive Garden gave working-class Americans a taste of elegance without the price tag. The warm breadsticks, the bottomless salad, the soft lighting, it felt like Italy on a budget. Birthdays, anniversaries, even first dates found a home there. It was where average families went to feel special. But now, that feeling is slipping away. A dinner for two, once $30, now climbs near $80 with tip. According to NBC News, Olive Garden plans another 8–10% increase in late 2025, driven by the rising costs of European imports, increased server wages, and slower table turnover that cuts profits per hour for retirees and families on a tight budget. The impact is real. Sitting down for a plate of fettuccine now comes with a quiet calculation. Can we afford this? Or should we reheat leftovers at home? What's fading isn't just affordability, it's tradition. The comfort of being served. The small delight of warm bread without limits. The feeling that everyone, not just the wealthy, deserves a night out. If even the family pasta dinner becomes too much to ask for, what's left to celebrate with what memories will future generations make, when all that's affordable is a microwave and silence? Number 12. Dennys. What happens when even breakfast, the most basic meal of the day, becomes a luxury Dennys used to be, where people went when there was nowhere else to go? Truckers at dawn, seniors at sunrise, students with open textbooks at midnight. It was never fancy, but it was open, warm, and human. A full breakfast for $5.99. Coffee refills, smiles that remembered your name. Now that same breakfast costs over $13. According to Forbes, Dennys will raise prices another 6–8% in 2025, especially across southern and midwestern states. Rising egg, dairy, and flour costs, plus 24/7 operation and higher minimum wages, are all pushing the price higher. And the result, the people Dennys was built for, are slowly disappearing. Older folks are staying home. Night workers settle for vending machines. The booth near the jukebox, the one with laughter, is empty. Dennys isn't just getting more expensive, it's losing its soul. Because if even a pancake at 5 a.m. feels out of reach, where do you go when all you want is to sit down, sip something warm, and feel like you're still part of the world? These weren't just restaurants, they were pieces of our lives. Pancakes after church, burgers shared in the car with sticky fingers, a warm booth where you didn't feel poor, just full. Now, the lights are still on, but the people are gone. Not because they stopped caring, but because they simply can't afford to stay. One by one, the doors are closing, not with noise, but with quiet goodbyes we're too tired to hear. If even the last cheap bite is vanishing, what else are we losing without even noticing? Share this with someone who remembers the $1.99 breakfast. Maybe it's time we speak up quietly before it's too late.